Welcome to Watcher DM. I'm Gabriel. Today I'm going to do a flip through and review of Gradient Descent, a adventure module mega dungeon for the Mothership sci-fi horror role-playing game. Before I dive into this, I would like to ask you to click the like button if you like these videos. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of them. And check the bell icon. Make sure that it's set to all if you want to be notified when our new videos come out. I make these kind of ahead of time, and they ship every Tuesday for the flip through and reviews, if that's what you're looking for. I also do tutorial videos using generator tools on Sundays. And if I get enough response, I'll probably start making some other videos too. I'm having a great time making all this stuff, and my lighting got cool, so I want to play. All right, that stuff out of the way. Let's talk about Gradient Descent. Now, I have run this once. I ran it for, well, I guess I ran it over a couple of sessions, but I ran it for my home group. And I ran it under the context of I started their characters off inside of the mega dungeon at a randomly generated location, and they had to kind of find their way out. And so that's the context under which a lot of my insights are going to come from. And you'll see why in a moment. It would be very difficult to create a comprehensive overview of this adventure. But Gradient Descent, the construction is staple-bound, cardstock cover zine. As always, you get a great usable table on the back and the inside sleeves. So you've got D100 artifacts. These are the artifacts stored within the deep, which is what they call the megastructure. Random search is, a great table to use for just generating, you're looking around, find something, roll on this table, and you can get that. And this book has a lot of stuff like that. So the inside front cover has the CLOUDBANK Synthetic Production Facility, aka the Deep. And I think when I first saw this, I was like, what the hell is this? How is anybody supposed to use this or make sense of this? And the kind of not so clever answer is they're kind of not, but they also very much are. So, the kind of genius bit of design hidden behind this otherwise very difficult looking module is that the rooms are numbered for the page that they are on. So, room 22A, which is appears to be an entrance. In fact, I know it is an entrance. You can go to page 22, and A will be the visitor stock. So this is where people come to the deep from the bell, which is explained in the book. But yeah, so that's kind of the structure of this, is you can kind of pin down where you are within this whole system and know exactly what page you need to turn to get the information about that place. And because of the way that this is organized, you can see how they're all connected. So this is an entrance, like the key tells you, this is an entrance to the facility. If it's a black background box, it is a human-sized room. If it is a white background box, it is an industrial-sized room. This changes how long it takes to cross that room. Passages are denoted with a straight solid line. Lifts and elevators are denoted with a dashed line between two arrows. So those are lifts. And then duct or ventilation shafts are a dashed line, a small dashed line between two squares. And so from that, you can kind of, looking at any room, say, oh, it's 59G. There is a door to the, on one side, an air shaft on the other, right? The duct ventilation shaft on the other. So does the PC find the duct ventilation shaft? Well, maybe they would have to search for it, right? We'd have to go to that room, and we could, whatever. The other component here, I think, all of the circles, just regular circles, are doors. And then there is also an airlock or depressurization chamber. So there you'll find these in a few places, and that's just indicating that there is there's a way to kind of swap out like atmosphere within those. The warden's notes here are useful. They tell you how long it takes for a lift to arrive. Random encounter checks are every 10 minutes. You roll a d100. The roll of a double is an encounter. The higher the roll, the further away the encounter is. So they're just kind of overloading the dice. The reaction rolls are, kind of amazing. Like, this is just a really concise type of design. And it really shows some of the brilliance going on over at Tuesday Night Games. How to use this module. So this explains the setup for the campaign. I'm not going to go into all of these because it's pretty varied. But basically, you can run it as a one-shot. You can run it in a campaign. You can start a new campaign in it. Or you can just steal content from this. It's also a super valid way to use this module, just because there is so much stuff in here. Like I said, I ran one adventure. I think we probably did maybe 20 or 30 rooms in our delve, which is not a ton. Then it covers basic procedures. So brain scans are important in this. Also 0G, so it has some artificial gravity. It explains random encounters and reaction rolls, as well as backtracking, and it says, resist the temptation to automatically turn encounters into combats. Everything in the deep wants to talk to someone. You can run this entire module without killing or fighting anything. Please tell us if you do. So, actually my party might have actually gotten through the whole thing without killing or fighting anything, now that I think about it. Okay, I'll have to bring this up, because I missed this. I forgot to say it. I should reach out to them. Alright, so how this book works. This explains how the book works. This is a little bit interesting. So you can see here, it says like airlock door, blocked hidden entrance, airlock door locked. So it's giving you different indicators for how the doors work. Now, these indicators are not on this map. You're going to need to go... It's on the page maps themselves, where it uses those larger indicators. Don't make that mistake. But, yeah, it's important here to kind of let the place breathe. The players really need to kind of benefit from the crazy spaces in this dungeon for the tension to really ratchet up, which it will. Monarch is a super weird AI creature that they talk about here, artificial omniscience. And yeah, I say creature, it's an intelligence. It's kind of a super intelligence. Think like boot meet ant, where the PCs are the ant. The boot doesn't usually, I think, give them much, attention. At least in my playthrough, it certainly didn't. But that's kind of up to you. But yeah, they can work with the Monarch. They can introduce the Monarch. Like, if they mess with the Monarch enough, the Monarch will freak out. Yeah, it's interesting. This is an interesting challenge, I think, to play Monarch. But my take on it was just to make him largely ambivalent to the characters, thinking of them more like bugs. The bends is a mechanic added to this game. This is somewhere between a stress mechanic and kind of a depth crawl mechanic, in that the longer the players are here, the more they interact with the world, their bends are going to increase. The bends is kind of the sense of yourself as being true in your reality. Because this place is a synthetics factory, it is kind of the intention that the PCs will begin to question whether or not they are their original selves, or if they are synthetics who are duplicating themselves. And if so, how many chains of synthetics have they been? So it gets pretty weird, and so this is like kind of a psychosis that happens to them over time. Very cool stuff. This is the introduction to the Synthetics Production Facility. So it just kind of talks about how the actual synthetics are made, what they're there for, and kind of what, like, it's got the stat blocks for the different android types. And then, yeah, manufacturing defects, what are they doing, wants to talk. So just some really usable, punchy tables for generating an interaction with an android. Ghosts in the Machine. This is about the brain scans and harvesting brain scans from people to create synthetics of them. This is how the PCs would become replaced if that was happening, which is pretty great. And then this whole page is about Fallout. So if certain things happen that the PCs do or find, there can be consequences. And so this kind of outlines what those consequences might be. So then it talks about the blockade. So the Deep, the CLOUDBANK Synthetic Production Facility, aka the Deep, is surrounded by a blockade by the company. I think, I'm actually not. I don't think they actually clarify who the company is or what military is blockading it. But that's kind of for the warden to sort out. But these are the people responsible for keeping people away from the Deep. And then there's the Bell, and that's kind of where you are trying to get if you are going in. So if you are on your way in, you're going to end up going to the Bell, and then being a diver, you're going to dive into the Deep and try to reclaim artifacts. So this describes the Bell. This is Arcady and Noriko. They are NPCs. They're very fun. If you want a good example of this environment, which again, my PCs did not interact with this very much, being that they were coming out, I would recommend looking at 3D6 Down the Line. They are doing a current a campaign of this module, and amazing performance by John, their warden there, on these characters and the Bell. This outlines the inside of the Bell, so this describes how the Bell works here. This is like rumor tables from the two characters, Arcady and Noriko. Then it breaks down the Deep. So these are the kind of structures for the Deep, and this allows you to kind of roll random locations within the Deep using a D100. Yeah, it is as it appears. So there's like a reception area and some habitation. Floor 2 is Eden, a completely rebuilt and strange experimental area where chosen androids live in relative peace. Floor 3 is the factory, which is huge. Floor 4 is the human emulation lab, or Hell. Floor 5 is the AI core, and floor 6 is engineering and support. Content warning for this module, I think it's said somewhere here pretty early on. They're usually really good about content warnings. There is some simulated child abuse, I guess, like at some level, in that, like, in floor 4, android children are ruthlessly pitted against each other. So there's some really weird kind of Lord of the Flies stuff going on down here in floor 4. If you have trigger warnings around that, or if you have a party who doesn't want to interact with that kind of material, I would recommend just changing this up a lot, either making them androids, like more obviously androids, like not synthetic children, I guess. Anyway, I'm sure there's ways around it, or just don't play this module. Like, there's plenty of great Mothership stuff out there. Talks about the entrances and exits, so all the different ways to get in and out. This is kind of another map, which, whatever. Like, how many maps do you need? Well, when it's this complicated, maybe you need a lot. And then we get into the actual mega dungeon proper. You'll notice here that this looks a lot like a schematic. This appears on every page, and this encompasses all of the rooms that are on that spread. So 22A is here, and it is here. 22B is reception here, and so on. So everything on this spread you're going to find in this map, and that is on every spread from this point on. Also, you're going to note the Warden Education System, WES. These little notes here are just to give you some good insights on things about these places. Floor 2 is Eden. So yeah, an idyllic android playground kind of place. And yeah, it's a prolonged experiment run by Monarch. So some pretty cool stuff in here. Right. It does talk about the Chosen and the Fallen here, which is kind of a critical component because it breaks across these two ranges. So once you get into page 27 and kind of like 29, you're really into the Fallen, which these are like the not Chosen, if you will. And this is where the home of the Minotaur is. I'm not going to spoil what the Minotaur is. It's kind of a weird concept anyway. But yeah, free the Minotaur. I think that's all I'll say about it. Free the Minotaur. Floor 3 gets into the factory, and it's nice. You get a nice little spread, a little break here that just talks about the floor as a structure because this is the biggest floor. It's huge. And so, yeah, 3.1 is the maintenance zone. This art is so freaking creepy. So creepy. Yeah, the tool shed. I remember the Scrimshaw tunnel. My PCs went through that. The tool shed, the diagnostic lab. And then I think they backed out because it was just stuff got too weird and they kind of freaked out. God, it's so punchy though. Now, I will say, like, if you have dyslexia or you have a hard time focusing on text, this can get pretty overwhelming pretty quickly. My recommendation actually would be to grab the PDF, transfer these notes into a tool like Notion where you can more easily kind of get a single thing on a page and just deal with it in those terms and use links to move around it. Because yeah, kind of like another bug hunt. While this design layout is awesome, it's amazingly dense, it can be really overwhelming to try and make sense of at the table. That said, I think it's worth kind of running at the table like as is without overthinking it. And just kind of letting things arise. I would even argue that you could run this with very little prep and just find out what comes up. Because the writing is so terse and it's so punchy, you're really going to be able to very quickly go, oh, waste reclamation, a maze of elevated rails hidden by glowing auto forges. Rejected bone material is regularly spat from vents in the ceiling. The auto forges are coffin-sized carts on rails housing robotic arms, surgical tools with a hot forge in the center. They have no safety controls and snatch anything that gets nearby. Body saver 2d10 damage and be grabbed. Anything grabbed has non-metallic materials sliced away and metallic elements plunged into the forge to be melted down. Woof. Woof. Pseudo-flesh farms. That's what it sounds like. Pseudo-milk eels. God, this gets so creepy. Yeah, this place is just weird and gross, and I love it. But yeah, as you can see, like, it gets a little low contrast in some of these places. But yeah, vac-suit storage is down here. Pseudo-milk eel storage. What a creepy idea. Who wrote that? Weirdo. I'm just kidding, guys. I love this. Then floor 3.4 is brain construction. So this is where they create the minds, which is like where your mind is going to appear if you've been brain scanned. So look out for things that talk and think like you or know what you know, which is creepy. And then 3.5 is disassembly. It's as terrifying as it sounds. 100 forgotten androids crawl over and through like ants, desperately bartering for working components. Yeah, horrible. Floor 3.6 is storage, so nice and short this one. And then 3.7 is quality assurance, anti-organic armory. There's a bunch of stuff down here. Quarantine, inspection booths, war studies. So, yeah, basically, Monarch is kind of at war with his creators. That's humanity. And is working on infiltrating the rest of the world. And then you got 4, Human Emulation Lab. I think this is a commentary about civilization, but I will leave that to you to weigh in on. Yeah, it's a bunch of child androids being pitted against each other in competition, which, you know, sounds capitalist to me. Floor 5 is the AI core. Like, see how we just went from floor 4 to floor 5, one spread? But you can literally play in floor 4 for a while. Like, so there's just a lot you can do with the bit that's here. And AI core is pretty straightforward. Monarch can withstand 20,000 plus damage internally before it cannot be repaired and dies, plunging the station into chaos. That's your big boss. 20,000 plus hit points. Love it. And then you got engineering and support, which we never got down to, so I really can't speak to this area. I think it's really cool looking. And maybe I will convince my PCs to dive back in here. In fact, I think they have a wish to free the Minotaur, so maybe we'll do that. Toxic sludge disposal, thruster control, and access. Again, you're kind of seeing these, although there's this new icon here. I think this might be these spider webs. Rooms marked with the web icon are filled with a thin, delicate steel web. Breaking this thread alerts the hunter who arrives from its lair in 60B and D5 rounds. So they're adding to the iconography of the map as they go. Again, we are back to the back of the page, back of the document with the artifacts, D100 artifacts, and your random search. Gradient Descent. Well, that's a masterpiece. Hard, right? This is a lot to run. Like, this is not an entry-level adventure by any means. It's a mega dungeon. But because of how it's set up, your level of commitment for depth is up to you, kind of. So I would recommend almost any GM try it, as it really opened my eyes to kind of playing to find out, playing off the cuff, and letting go a little bit, and just enjoying the content that it brings out as your players explore. Really, really well done. I think this won an award. If it didn't, it deserves a number of awards from me, who is not a judge of award giving, but maybe I should be. Yeah, that's Gradient Descent. Amazing. Pick it up if you don't already have it. It came in the Mothership Deluxe box set, which I also recommend picking up if you are in the market for a new game. Yeah, I think that's about it. Tuesday Night Games, Gradient Descent, amazing stuff. If you like these videos, you should hit the like button. If you want to see more of them, you should hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when they appear, you should hit the bell icon. If you want to support Watcher DM in general, you can go to watcherdm.com and purchase our adventure content and games. Or if you want to get early access to these videos, you can go to patreon.com/watcherdm and sign up. Every tier gets the early access to videos, and most of the paid tiers get some bespoke monthly stuff that I'm making for fantasy games and role-playing games. And maybe I'll start making some Mothership stuff. Let me know if you'd like to see that. And yeah, hey, thanks for playing.